So gratitude evening and gratitude morning, everyone. So thanks for joining. Glad to have you here along with our top people and top mentors, top people. So welcome to Top Excel, a platform to excel, a platform to embrace your talent, a platform for the togetherness. Welcome to Top Excel and welcome to Top Talks. Talks for Tops, talks by Tops, talks of Tops. I welcome you all to this wonderful platform. So, if you realize what exactly Top is Cell, we had amazing journey from 3 years. It takes an hours and hours to explain what exactly we are and what an incredible journey we have so far. And to explain, it takes guts. So, what we have decided, our team took some efforts to make all our thoughts and assembly of all our thoughts, ideas, emotions into one context, and we call that context as invocation. So it tells us who we are and what actually we built on. So let us hear that invocation by our beloved Nishita. Over to you.
Thank you, Rohitana. This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everything. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to each other. We take ownership in everything we do. We have freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We are mad to make a difference. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dream big, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? We can do it. We will do it. Let us not hope for the best. Let us be the best. We should be driven by goals, not by egos. This is who we are. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nishita. This is who we are. Let us be the best. Yeah, so being with that best, and again, if we realize what is actually missing in human life or in the society is gratitude. So due to the lack of gratitude, we are not connected by hearts. So we realize what exactly gratitude, and we are conducting the sessions on gratitude. So one of our top mentors quote or Mashu's quote: "If you are with gratitude, you are a part of life. If you are not with gratitude, you are a part of life." So that's the power of gratitude. And let us hear that quote of gratitude by our Deepthi. Yes.
Thank you, Rohitana. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist merely of words. Gratitude is shown in acts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So, my gratitude to you for that gratitude quote. And today we have an amazing topic and an amazing speaker here with us, our top speaker, Pratyusha ma'am. Ma'am, hearty welcome to you. So, we at Top ESL, what we are, I think you are aware. So, we like to hear you. It's all yours now. Thank you.
So thanks so much, and good morning, good evening, everyone. And absolutely, it was a great discussion this morning with Shravan, which enlightened me about what you all do. And I said, if you have invited me here, and I'm sure you are more enlightened souls, so I said I would want to learn more than you. So I would love all of you all to come on videos because it's a small group if you can. Absolutely, would love to see you all, and we can make it as interactive as possible. I'm not going to just be a one way speaker because I believe that it's going to be both ways we learn together. But the way I'm going to just spend the next 1 hour is I'll just share with you some of my life stories, my own personal journey versus what I have done and what I am doing currently, and how be it I think when I was reading and listening to what all of y'all do in Thope and the mentors and the leaders, absolutely stunning journey of just one thing of giving back, right? And that's I have been practicing day in and day out the last 6 7 years, and implementing it. Actually, I'm executing it on my day to day life journey, and it's been a huge eye opener. So I'm Pratyusha, as he mentioned. I come with about 25 years of experience. Very humbly, I started off my career when it was a recession time, right? Not that I'm so old, but yeah, I do look maybe. But 96 was a year of recession. It was tough to get jobs. I graduated from my MBA, and I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. Today, you all are lucky that you have mentors, you have guides. We did have mentors, but the exposure, the industry itself was as limited as possible. So yeah, as usual, young girl trying to find my own true north. I ventured into working as a freelancer, worked with marketing and research group, worked with the IT industry. That time SAP and PeopleSoft were in, so I said, let me, understand it much better. So did my MBA marketing not to get into a job, but to become an entrepreneur. I had that entrepreneurial mindset and I wanted to really do something on my own. But I said, first, let me gain experience because I believe the foundation is very strong. Like the way we learn our ABCD in school, we learn our tables. I think those foundations really building blocks they become for your lifelong journey. So I think this is an absolute great forum for each one of you all to build your foundation as strong as possible, because the first 3-4 years what you learn, what you experience really takes you milestones. So I did work with marketing and research group, I worked with the hotels, I worked in sales and marketing and worked in a couple of companies in the first 3 years. Then I ventured out into building my own publication. So I did a publication for the youth, by the youth, of the youth. I used to print a magazine which, like the way you're saying Thop Talks, I used to go to colleges and have people talk, voice themselves out. So it was an interesting thing. And all night I used to sit at the printing press trying to get my magazine out by the next day and find sponsors for the next month. So I think it was, again, 18 hours, 24 hours journey to be able to achieve your goal. So my belief was I wanted to do something, and what is my goal? What is my achievement? I didn't have too many mentors other than 1 or 2 college educational mentors, right? I think the industry didn't grow so much, and trying to identify. But then the dot-com boom came in. So, just had a downfall on the print and the media publication. So immediately I joined the dot-com industry. And again, the dot-com busted. So again, another challenge and a milestone in my life. So that's when GE happened. I was with GE for 12 years. And with GE also, I experienced almost every 2 years, I used to switch my role. So my whole thing is I always like to challenge myself. I always wanted to learn. And third is I had the zeal and drive that I know at some point of time I'm going to give back. That I had to define my purpose. So my only thing is defining your purpose is not just only about money. It's defining your values is what is going to enable you to do that. So that's something really kept triggering me. And when I joined G, I was in operations. I'm a Six Sigma black belt. I did transitions. I did consulting. I traveled across the world. And then I moved into the HR stream, right? I started getting into training, skilling, and all that. So almost every 2 years, I had a new boss. Every 2 years, I had a new role. Every 2 years, I had a chaotic situation I was put in. But I didn't stop there. I always went back. I used to settle it in. And 2-3 years later, I used to go to my boss and say, I've settled whatever you wanted me to do. Can I move to another role? Can I take up something more? I never stopped in saying that I want to do that much. I always had to simplify things. And today, with technology, innovation, absolutely, you can just simplify your life. You can make your time more meaningful. And there's huge potential and there's much more to do. And that's what I believed in. So I think 12 years of GE was a great, again, another different experience for me. And then right now I'm with Cognizant the last 9 years. Again, this is my 4th role I'm doing in Cognizant. Moved into various HR streams and constantly challenging myself and my boss. So that's all I keep doing. But why I'm telling you my little experience, but there are a lot of experiences in these milestones. I have 2 sons, 16 and 10. I've been married for 25 years again, have 2 good sons. But there are milestones. I know there are some women here, there are some men here. There are different milestones in careers. There are different milestones in your personal life. And I don't believe anything on work-life balance, gender. All this is something which is your mindset. You have the zeal to do it. You have to go ahead and do it. It is a life. It is a way of life. Having a family, going through the whole process, and it is not something which is out of your normal work spheres. And that's my belief. And that's how you grow into it. You will face obstacles, you will face tough moments in your career and personal life, but you don't need to pause it, right? And there are career breaks you may want to take, either because you have family issues or other problems. Even men want to take their breaks. But please, I think having a guide and mentor at every stage is one critical thing which I have beautifully had. Different guides, different mentors. Sometimes it was my siblings, sometimes it was my parents, sometimes it was my friends, so sometimes it was my bosses. So every time you have a different problem, and you can have your mentors, three or four, to be able to guide you at that moment, because we are all human beings and the impulsive decisions we can make, but thought through decisions is what a mentor can do. And I'm sure many people who would have come before would have spoken about this. So absolutely, it's been a thrilling journey. But the last 6-7 years, there was a lot of opportunity for me to give back to myself, to the industry and society. I've been a part of the large HR forums, NHRD, NASCOM, HICIA, CII, and all. Um, there were opportunities for me to be able to talk, give back to the HR industry. During this time, what happened is Society of Cyberabad Security Council, I again volunteer with them. So I don't know if any one of y'all who are from Hyderabad have heard about SHE teams, about Margadarshaks, Sangamitras, SCSC, traffic volunteers. So, these are some different names, cybersecurity cells. So 15 years back, SCSC was formed with the support. SCSC is an organization where it is a collaboration between the police and the industry. So police, they're only about 20,000, 10,000 personnel. They can only do so much, right? They can not create the civic sense in the minds of human beings. Traffic is there. People go onto the road and then start shouting. Suddenly people get down and say, hey, why did you come beside my car, beating up? But what happens to the civic sense? Who's responsible? Who's responsible to help reduce crimes? There are only certain amount of people who can do that. But we as industry came together and we said we need to collaborate with such kind of bodies to help to build a better society. So we said there's a lot of focus where we can reduce crimes, we can reduce, the traffic crimes and help in creating a better ecosystem. We can look at women's safety. And that's how we built this whole model. It's 15 years back. I'm a joint secretary for the Women's Forum, which I lead along with the Cyberabad Commissioner of Police. It's been an interesting journey and I want to share a little bit more. So I lead women's safety, and all of you all might be having at some point of time siblings who are women. You have gone through it, your parents are there. There was a huge splurge of domestic violence cases during the COVID times. And every second day we used to get from the societies, from the workplaces, from people where the domestic abuse and domestic violence cases have increased. There are a lot of students who have just got into employment, independence. There is a lot of freedom, of financial freedom. They were very vulnerable to many, many crimes, either in terms of online crimes or to deal with women's safety. So what is it that can we do something to create safety? And this is something which came into my mind always when I deal with a case. And why do people behave like this? Don't they understand? Don't they know how to respect? Don't they have any kind of value system around them? But as I kept dealing with cases and dealing with it day in and day out, the whole thing is there are a lot of children who are orphans. There are people who don't have a home. There are people who try to get educated through some school, and they don't have an ecosystem to thrive. And when they want, I'm very happy that these Top Talks is giving a platform and a mentor. So the whole conditioning of the whole upbringing during the childhood actually end up creating in lots of these things. But if we want to reduce crime, what do? I think the first line of defense is to create awareness. How do we educate people? How do we create awareness? I would say, do all of you all understand the laws and the rights of women? Some of you are there who are women real, and I think all the men who are there, do you understand what are the laws and the rights of a woman which has been constituted by the law of India? You have to know about it. So these are the kind of awareness programs we've created. There are structured training programs. There are e-modules which we have created, 20-minute e-modules, so that it reaches. I would urge each one of you all to just take that 20-minute module, get all your friends, your family, everybody educated. It's available in Telugu, English, Hindi. We created content so that digitally it will reach. And who do you reach out to in terms of a crime? So there was a girl who was being stalked by a boy for almost 2 to 3 years. But somewhere in the office, her productivity was going down. And every time she goes home, she was feeling kind of let down. And that's because this guy was stalking her. Then after that, he started stalking her on Facebook and WhatsApp and many other social media channels. Then he came to the family and started saying that I want to marry her. So this has been disturbing her mind. However strong the woman is, this kept disturbing her mind. So of course, then she reached out to Margadarshaks, who we are, as well as the She team. So that's the ecosystem, at least in Hyderabad, we have built. Are we removing completely? No. I think it's going to just double and double. But are we aware on where do we go to? How do we deal with that situation? And how do we be able to take support from the guides who are available to help us to come out of the situation? So we do counseling, we help people to go and find through the She teams and through the police to be able to guide them and be able to do that. So there are a lot of awareness sessions we do. There is a lot of training programs we conduct for you to become either a Sanghamitra or a Margadarshak. So today you may be living in a residential community, you may be working, you may be in a school, you may be in a college. But do people know that you are a guide or a friend for all who can be of some support and help? You go through a 12-week training program which we conduct, and we do field visits. We take you through all the orphans, the women's cells, the counseling centers, plus there's a training program on the knowledge you can embark. So I think these are very powerful programs which we created, so that it's nothing, it's a volunteer, and all you're doing is you're giving back to the society by creating the awareness that this is what is happening. So there was a 65-year-old man who was beating up a 55-year-old wife during the pandemic, when the neighbor was a Sanghamitra. They figured out, but the wife was not reporting, because usually Indian systems, we don't voice out. Now slowly people are voicing out. But the woman was going through so much of abuse. But then the Sanghamitra started talking to the lady, started discussing so that she feels approachable. So they're very small steps, but huge difference one can make. And this is what really excited me when I joined SCSC. I'm just doing purely on a voluntary basis, where we create awareness, where we create opportunities for people to give back to the society. So I think women's safety is one very core to me, but not to say that, be it traffic, drunken driving, be it traffic sense, accidents, the crime rates, how they're going up. So I think the whole purpose of SCSC was to be able to say, how do we ensure that safety is a priority? And how do we collaborate with bodies to ensure that we are able to give back and create a better ecosystem? So what happens? Your mind and mental state is absolutely 100%. You learn to think more constructively, and you are able to work more, and you're able to do things more. So it's an ecosystem you're building and creating a safety platform. So there is a lot of work we're doing again around cyber security. I think all of you all know online crimes are on a high, cyber crimes. Every day, I'm sure each one of you all have experienced. I experienced it my own self. So, but it's important. Are you aware? Do you have the knowledge on how to deal with these situations? I think these are a couple of things which I volunteer and do. And yeah, I also mentor students, mentor people to be able to get into employment, so that that's what is really which is going to take them into places. So that's my little contribution back to the society. There are a lot of cases I can talk about, a lot of scenarios I can talk about, but what I believe in, students of your age have the highest potential. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that this platform is going to create role models of the future. All of y'all have to be role models of somebody else. And see, there are 3-4 things I'm going to touch upon. That's clearly just my story and my experience and what I do for the society. So I just wanted to share that a little bit. Now, if you ask me, how do I get the time? I think if you're passionate, you can make time for it. So when Ian, actually, who's my colleague, said, can you talk? I immediately didn't know whether I'll have time or not, but I said, yes, I will talk. So I'm just trying to make time and give that time back to you all, right? So you have to make time for it. You will make yourself available. So that's what, again, that's the energy which we can give back to each other. That's what is the positive energy you give back. So there are 3 things which I wanted to touch upon, right? One is the whole mindset. I'm sure lots of people would have spoken, but clearly there are 2 things which I personally built on, is the whole growth mindset and the value mindset for me. And it is all in our control on how we are going to give back. I always had this thing of enabling myself to grow and make myself achieve something and not just stop. And when somebody says, I said, it's okay, at the age of 70 also you can do things. I know people who have done at the age of 70 PhDs. I have seen people who at the age of 75 keep trekking and going and following their passion. So there's lots what people can do. There's so much of age ahead in front of you. But at this time, if you are able to build a growth mindset of constantly challenging yourself and challenging your status quo and trying to do, today if I have done 10%, can I do 20% more? Can I do 30% more? Can I do 50%? Please don't stop there. Please continuously build 10 into 10 kind of a formula for yourselves, right? So that's one thing. And I think TOPE, as they say, all of you all have really reiterated its values, respect, be it empathizing with one another. These are very great values, but sometimes when we go back, if I switch off my Google Meet and all of you all go back, we are natural human beings. You will not even, I'm sure, implement 10% of it, right? At times. Conscious, you have to make that conscious effort of building a value mindset. It's just, even if it is your brother, your son, the way you empathize. And I'm going to give you an example of this. So I've been working with the transgender community, I think the LGBTQ community, which all of you all would have known, be it transgenders, lesbians, gays. And I realized they are also human beings. They have disabilities. I know society did not recognize them for so long. So I started talking to these transgenders, and earlier we used to call them hijadas. And they are there in the society begging or doing sexual working. And why are they doing that? That's because they've not been given an identity in the society. And you all should understand that it is a God's given thing. They have 70% female hormones, 30% male hormones, a mix of these, and that's what is inbuilt into their body. But they were never recognized. And people went to US to find some kind of solace, to be able to understand where they can get the identity. And they are also human beings. And when I started talking to them, the kind of stories, they earn so much through sexual working or through begging. And there are many people who are actually going through the transition of from a trans woman to a trans man to trans woman, and they have to spend money to get surgeries. They are getting educated, they are being beaten and rejected by their parents. It's very tough. I'm sure any one of us, it would be tough. And when they're getting beaten and rejected by their parents, they have to spend money on their surgeries. Then at the same time, once they're educated, they don't get jobs. They do not articulate it, do not know communication, they don't have a little skills to be able to join the industry. So we did set up a whole transgender desk, and we created something called the Transgender Skilling Program, where I got 60 CVs of people who are so brilliant doing MSc microbiology. There is a person who's done MA. There's a person who's done BA, BSc psychology. There are 5 BTechs. So, so many people, and all of them have been going through, some of them couldn't come out in the open, but they go through so much of depression. So they're going through a mental torture, they're going through a physical torture, they are actually getting beaten by the system, and they don't have a place. So, it's very sad. We are all part of the society. And how do I create a skilling program and help them get employment? So again, organizations are again very, very say that they're inclusive, they're ready to take good talent, but reality is acceptance of these people. I'm sure if somebody comes, acceptance is a big issue. So there are a lot of sensitization sessions we do, and I've been speaking to a lot of HR leaders. I've run a skilling program, and it's continuously going to happen once in 3 months. It's slowly. So I've given employment to 7-8 people out of the skilling program every quarter, and this just started 6 months ago. And hearing the stories, it's really, really sad to know how we don't give identity and respect to people, right? Be it men, be it women, be it transgender, be it people with disabilities and economically weaker sections. All of us are a part of it. But respecting these diverse groups is very, very important. And I would love to see people from this group actually making those radical changes and making a difference to make it inclusive a society. And so, whether you start a startup, so that was one part which I wanted to share. The other one is the whole startup age, right? I think there is so much of the startup boom, startup industry. It's attracting a lot of money. Everybody wants to become a billionaire, millionaire, $5 billion. That valuation is, okay, if I start this, I will create. Absolutely. These are all great stuff. But understand what the purpose is and why you're doing it. And always look at what ideas you're coming up with. Don't stop yourself from thinking and challenging yourself. You don't need to just get into a job. You don't need to just get into something which, condition that, yes, I need to get into this brand, that brand. But keep experimenting as much as possible. It's okay for you to fail. And I think that's what Apurva or somebody had spoken, right? Fail fast or experiment. It's important that you fail, you experiment. Those learnings will actually take you a long way. But you can do it now. Nobody's stopping you to start a business. Nobody's stopping. You don't need money for it. And I believe that to start any startup or business, you don't need money. You need zero. It's your brain which is going to count. It's your ideas which is going to start. When I started my magazine Cult, I didn't have money, nor I wanted to put any money. I did it with zero. All I did is my thought process, my ideas. I went to youngsters. I was doing like a journalist. I was asking, I got articles. I sat and screened through them. I spent some time. So it's just an idea which gets generated. You don't need. So I have a friend of mine who said during pandemic, there are self-help groups which have gone through a lot of bad times and no business. So they went into the villages, helped skill these people. And now she's been doing almost, creating masks, Diwali gifting, corporate gifting. All she did is just using a brain and going to self-help groups, helping them to skill, look at a pattern and design, sitting with them. And not that she started very big. It's again a small way of being able to create the thought. So it's clearly whether you're starting your own business, your job, or freelancing. Today, jobs are plenty. And when I say jobs are plenty, they need talented people. They want smart people who are being able to give ideas, who are trying to deliver innovation and technology. So a lot of those things. So I think it's clearly, one is the growth mindset. So you need to constantly keep challenging yourself. The second is the whole value mindset of making it an inclusive society. So please keep these two in mind as and when you're growing and building your thought process. And nobody is going to stop you. And I've seen those books. Thanks, Shravan, for sharing. And I think I did glance to them, and I'm going to read to them. I know some of you have been writing some of those books, contributing back. Amazing stories, amazing work you all are doing. Absolutely the right forum for you all to grow and become tops of the country or the world. And so when I said country and world, these borders are created only by, you have your India-Pakistan border, India-China border, global, all these borders are just man-made. And it's just thousands of years back. Who's created these borders? I think when we start looking at what we are as patriots, it should be patriots to our values. We should be patriots to our culture, patriots to what we do for the world. I think that's what is really going to make the difference. And that's what I learned as a part of my own experience and my story. And I want to make it interactive. So that's a little bit of work, what I do, what we see. And these are the two mindset parts which I really wanted all of you all to focus on. And there are a lot of values and competencies as you transition from students to college to employment. But absolutely, those are something which are more technical in nature. But I think these are very soft. And clearly, you will be a differentiator from the rest if you are able to practice these values, right? If I put one associate of mine and another associate, somebody who's very technical, both of them are very good, both of them are very technical, they're very high on domain, but who's going to stand out? Somebody who has a better empathy, better leadership skills, better management of people. Are you collaborating with your peer group? Today all of you are studying. Are you collaborating? Are you brainstorming? Are you really looking at things from an outside in perspective? You will stand out. And yes, some of you may be shy, some of you may not be wanting to talk, or public speaking, or there are some inhibitions. What will the other person think? It becomes very judgmental society. But please, fears are the one which actually you should let them go by actually bringing a friend or bringing a mentor, saying, I have this fear, I want to come out of it. Because that's when you will start exploring your own self. So please let go of your fears. If you have them, your mentors and peers will help you. The second is, please ensure when you transition to these stages, you really will make that difference. And I'm sure you'll stand out in the crowd. So that's a little bit from me, but I want to make it interactive because it's only 20 people, and would love to hear from you. And any questions on your mind, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that brief stories. Yes, Shaun sir, do you have any thoughts? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Pratisha. That was really, really good. Totally enjoyed it. I have a question for you. See, this is something I'm hearing. The crime rate is increasing in Hyderabad. Okay, that's what I hear. And when I go back 30 years ago, when I was there, I felt less safe 30 years ago than I feel right now. Even though the population has more than doubled right now. And I think I feel like there is more of a record keeping that is happening now than it happened 30 years ago. So I'm thinking, is it possible for us to tell two stories? One story is, yes, we are doing better keeping, and that is telling us what the problems are in the society. And the other story is, hey, we are actually getting better. We are getting more organized. We are actually more safer. We are more transparent. We are less corrupt than 30 years ago. I feel corruption was higher 30 years ago than now. So, of course, these are all just because, I sort of like left India for 30 years and I never really bothered what was happening in India for 30 years. So when I came back 30 years later, I could clearly see a different India. So I have been trying to talk to the society, saying, let us look at it from two different aspects, two different stories, rather than keep on saying there is a lot of corruption, there is a lot of crime rate, and that negative story, um, I don't know, doesn't seem to help. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, excellent question, and lots to reflect, right? With 30 years, how it was to what it is now. So, my perspective on this is population has increased, unemployment has been increased, unemployed rural youth have increased, right? And there have been a lot of people who don't have that wholesome family system, right? Which are joint family values, family system is missing, right? So absolutely, these are some of the things which have increased. Reporting and governance is better, but I still say it is still inaccurate. Corruption is increased. Yes, people are there, but I think it's a tabloid world of the media. And when you open the newspaper, the issue is every media person wants to take their pie, and everybody wants to watch that. So, and they have their own internal political system, right? Why media does that? It's hype, you know, and the greed has increased because naturally the population has increased, the lifestyles have increased, the greed in the society is increased. Positioning, title, fame, money, everybody wants these. And so I saw that lots of these are increasing. And to your point, yes, there is governance and there is reporting. So as it is increasing, if we don't do any of these, it is just going to get worse. So that's how, when we started all of these, the rural unemployment youth across in the districts of Hyderabad itself, instead we are starting a skilling program for unemployed youth, and we are trying to see if we can do a job connect itself is almost for the educated people, 50-60% are unemployed, the rural youth. So that's a huge, huge number, which is getting into mental depressions of people. They don't have mentors and guides. As I said, all of you are lucky for having a mentor guide these platforms. So yes, the crime rate has increased, and crime rates are differently increased, and people are voicing out these days. People were not voicing out those days, but people are speaking about it. So I'll just give you an example of all the domestic violence cases I deal. Abuse. 30 years back, people were not opening up, but today the patience level and endurance is reduced. People are ready to speak up. They don't have patience to get abused for 10 years, 15 years. But first 5 years, they're giving up because of the financial. So the crimes are increasing. There is a lot of opportunity to create awareness. I think the only solution to all of these is one is educate yourself, educate 100 other people around you, right? The second is if you want to help reduce crime, look at the mental well-being of the person. And this is again a word which you would have heard so much during the pandemic. It's going to become more tougher for the next 3-4 years. So I was having a couple of discussions, Shravan. I'm sure it's a long answer, but to your question, saying that there are doctors who are going to come out in the next 3-4 years. The last 2 years, the doctors have not done any live project and human being. How is it that they're going to be 3 to 4 years down the line? And I'm talking in government colleges. The education system, the last 2 years again, is paused. So it's all creating a rippling effect, which is causing a lot of crimes. So it's increasing, and they need more people like us to create awareness, to give them that support and confidence that they can do it. Because one side we are facing a talent crunch in the organizations. We need talent, we need people who are skilled. Do you know who to reach out to? So every day I get at least some 200, 300 freshers hiring, these people hiring, they want this. But somehow we need to help reduce it. The only way is to educate, create awareness, and ensure the mental well-being of yourself to be strong and the others, right? So to your point, absolutely it is increasing, but it's how less you keep away from the negative news. But that's a problem. As you said, Shravan, every time you come, people talk, hey, this guy is corrupted, that guy is corrupted, this guy is taken away so much money, this guy is abused. People, that's the mentality, right?
Yes.
That's saying,
Yes.
let's do this, let's do that. So that's a system has to change.
Yes.
I think that's where shaping the proper mindset comes into the picture. Yeah. So you
Right.
did mention about growth mindset, which we are already working. I'm glad to listen all these points, which can be correlated to our top ESL, growth potential and acceptance. So I would like you to listen one of our top member who wrote "I accept activity." Like she just yesterday made us to write "I accept activity." For a minute, I laid out one of our top members. So she written this message, which is very interesting and like we are grateful for that message. I just want to read. One of our top member Nivedita wrote that. Yeah. So I am grateful for the people who really care me. I accept it. I am grateful for the people who don't really care me. Yet I accept it. I am happy. I accept it. I am sad at few moments. Yet I accept it. I am a good rapper. I accept it. I wish I could be a great dancer. Yet I accept it. I am happy that my dreams are coming true. I accept it. I'm confused that everything will not go according to our wish, yet I accept it. I'm happy that people understand me for who I am. I accept it, and I'm sad that some people don't really understand me and will yet or talk about me, yet I accept it. So these are some of the words. So I am happy that I am learning artificial intelligence, but still trying to be my best. I accept it. I am somehow feeling worried that am I able to add value in people's life, yet I accept it. I'm happy that I can be best and make my parents proud. I accept it. I am worried that I might make mistakes unknowingly with my anxiety and stress, yet I accept it. I'm happy that I give my best for my friends and friendships. I accept it. I'm worried that misunderstandings takes place and some may leave us, yet I accept it. So I accept the life however it comes to me. That's how I move on with my life. So this is such an interesting I accept it activity which she made us to write and made us to realize what is exactly life and acceptance. And thank you for the same, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, awesome. That does strong affirmations, right? So there was one of my boss, every time I was in stress or tension, he used to say, hey, Pratyusha, it's positive tension. Let's work on that challenge. So he used to literally help me to de-stress. And it's like he used to say it's a positive tension. He used to never call it stress. He used to never call it as a thing, right? So I think these words and affirmations itself is a huge thing to accept that you can do more and beyond.
Yes. Yes. Vivek.
And yeah, I was sharing with Shravan in the morning. I was out for a trek last week and I met a girl who's 20 years, who's a safety guide for kayaking, right? So she's been practicing kayaking for the last 8 years, that is from the age of 12. And 20 years, she's a safety guide. So amazing. And she just loves the sport and she loves the passion. And for her, her fears have gone out of it. And you don't need to spend money on any of these. It's just the passion which will constantly keep you driving what you want to do. So I think once you start thinking of your passion and your purpose, you all will rock.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Vivek, any word?
Thank you, Rohit. Hello, Pratisha ma'am. I'm Viveka. First of all, I'm just amazed by the way you have been speaking. We can correlate many things with our ecosystem which we have been building since 4 years, and the things which you mentioned like growth mindset, value mindset, actually we have a slightly different name, but it has the same essence which you have mentioned. We usually call it in our group as learning mindset, gratitude mindset, and compassionate mindset, of course. Yes, and I mean, the way you have spoken about empathizing with the people around us, giving them confidence that they can do it, or they can pursue whatever they want. It just mind blown. It is just mind blowing the way you have been speaking, because we also have been doing the same things since 4 years. uh, yeah, and I'm so happy that you're working towards the safety of women. We are just I mean, the way you have spoken about she teams and all, though we are aware, though we know that we can approach people for help, as you said, sometimes don't. We just keep calm. We know that there are people out there who can support us, but still I don't know why we just keep calm, don't reach out people for help. But your talk has just opened that thing in my mind, cleared that block, that okay, it's okay to approach people, it's okay to share our things. And yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
No, thank you. Very nice. You must do. I'll send to Madhu the 20-minute e-learning module. Share it with your friends, and it's just 20 minutes. Um, so to that point, right, I was talking to one girl who was a transgender, and she came from Calcutta. Now she has a partner. She does freelance content writing and all that stuff, and she helps and mentors other people. So she's doing very well. And when I started talking to her about her pain points and how she's, I think we need to get to the ground level reality, right? I think we talk on all these mindsets and doing stuff, but your real experience, I learned last 5 years, is when I started talking at the ground level reality and dealing with the cases women go through. That opened my eyes, really. And people say, are you not listening to negative information? To again Shravan's point, right? So much corruption, crimes. So is it not, troubling your mind? I said, it's just giving me energy. I'm solving a problem. So, it's the way you look at things. And you said, right, the positive mindset and all. I'm actually helping somebody. Somebody's coming and talking to me itself is like I'm guiding them, counseling them. Yeah, a little drain out that person has gone through so much of pain. But it is a way of how do I help that person, right? So yeah, thanks a lot. And yes, lots to do together and as individuals.
Together we make a difference. Yes. Yeah. Deepti, go ahead with your thoughts.
Thank you, Rohitana. Good evening, ma'am. I'm Deepti. Like as my friend Vivikta said, about how we could correlate with you, and adding to her points. You also spoke about domestic violence, LGBTQ community, cyber crime, and all. Like the actual problems, we need to raise voice. So one of our top mentor, Geeta ma'am, she couldn't attend today's call because she had a meeting. So she was wondering how she could reach out to you in future, ma'am.
Absolutely, you can connect with me. My number's there with Madhu. Second is you can attend any of our awareness sessions. You can attend the e-learning module. Like on Saturday, we are doing a women's safety run, and I'll open it up this to all the TOP members who are women, exclusively for women. Men can be cheerleaders. We are doing a safety run, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15-kilometer run. I will share it again, those details. I can share some complimentary invites. It's 750 per person. But Shravan, I'm happy to share for any women who want to participate in the run. and participate in it. And we have our website, so I will share the website and my contact number I can give you, and we can connect separately to be able to connect on those.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, PG sir, you can. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't know how I became, upside down. I'm trying to figure out how I became upside down right now. So I'm going to turn myself off. Yeah, Pratisha, this is really good. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. This to everything takes time, and that journey, I always ask myself this question, is if suppose that all the problems are gone tomorrow, what will I do tomorrow? Probably I'll create a problem. So at least I tell myself I am not creating problems, I'm solving problems.
Yes, you are solving all our problems. Thank you. GP sir, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Pratisha. This is Padmanabhan. I'm one of the mentors in the group. That was a very interesting talk, but I just had one question. Your work with the LGBT society and transgenders in particular was very interesting. But I just, for my information, I'm not so particularly aware, but to what extent is corporate India, you're yourself in HR and all that, to what extent is corporate India accepted the transgenders in their organizations, so to say? I don't. I'm not finding so many of them really being a part of organizations today. Maybe they lack the skill set. I'm not really very sure. Perhaps that could be the reason. But if that is the reason, then are we doing anything to improve their skill sets and make them be a part of organizations? Because I feel that if they are a part of such large organizations, that will be one way in which you can get public acceptance of these people, and also these people to fit into a society which is still, to a certain extent, I would say, not very I would say, forthcoming of them being in their midst. So that fear is always there, I guess, in some cases. So just for my knowledge, I would like to know where corporate India is with respect to acceptance of transgenders.
So good evening, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. And absolutely, I'm going to be very transparent being in the industry. Corporate India clearly, organizations have said inclusivity, right? Diversity and inclusivity, you'll see it everywhere. It's a name. I call it a lip service. Okay. Whether it is to do with women, even women at leadership positions are very few. There are many times I've been called to a board meeting because I had to represent, not because I was supposed to be there. Right. So we still face at senior leadership levels women. And it's taken many years. And I think hopefully in the next 10, 15 years, we'll see women more in leadership positions. Because at mid-manager and above less, so we start with 40% women. At mid-manager, we go to women are almost about hit 20%. They drop out for many issues because of the ecosystem, family, and many things. And it's a single digit as you go higher. And at times it is nil, right? The same way now, the transgender community has just, we all becoming aware. Honestly, I was with corporates for 25 years. It was a lip service 15 years back about transgender. But I've become more aware for the last 6 years because I realized these are absolutely human beings to be respected. And I didn't know unless I read it myself. Academically, it's very different. So 5-6 years back when I started looking at it, it just started, right? Now these people are educated. A lot of people are coming out of their identity, telling their parents. Some are being rejected, some are being accepted. But people who are being rejected are finding ways to be able to come out of the house and, find their path. So there are a lot of problems that side of the whole thing, right, of identifying themselves. But once they identify and they're ready to come into corporate India to an extent, I think there's a lot of awareness sessions, sensitization sessions which are happening. But are they hiring these people? There's a huge skill gap, and there is a talent profiling match which is not happening. So when I saw these 60 profiles I mentioned, I started sending it to my friends and the HR folks immediately, right? I wanted them to get jobs because they're all well educated. But I realized they got a lot of rejects also, because one is they didn't have skills, corporate etiquette, so a lot of those things, mentoring. So I immediately paused and I said there's a huge opportunity to skill them for 1-2 months and then put them into corporates. So even today, corporates, I'm ready to even pilot in my own team for 10 people, and I'm trying to identify profiles. So both, it is, I think the corporate India has accepted to an extent, and it's same like women folk who are growing. And transgender started, you'll see in the next 5 years, many of them getting employed.
Yes.
You will see that, and constantly we have to make efforts for women, transgenders, people with disabilities, everybody to grow, and they have to grow beyond mid-management level. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's so much. That's very nice. Sorry. Yeah. But one encouraging fact is that yes, like you said, there are increasingly more women at the top level today. I do find that actually, and people are also accepting of women bosses, which earlier was not the case. I think there was a mindset. If I had a boss who is a woman, sometimes these kind of things happen. But today people are accepting that she is more skilled, and I do find that with the due respects to everyone here, I very openly admit that women have certain skills that men don't have, certain things, which they are very adept at, certain things which I find they are very good at. So they could possibly be very successful. And that, I think, is a positive takeout for the girls in this group, that they have also a very great opportunity in the coming years, that they can really grow in their respective fields, so to say, or where they are intending to grow. I guess that gives them a lot of hope and encouragement. Thank you so much.
A lot of biases are there still with us also, even with me, right? On even same, IQ, EQ biases also we have, right? It's not only gender. So I think
True.
we're getting there. Hopefully, there is a lot of corporate India wants talent, and I think skilling is going to play a major role, sir. And what's happening is everybody is doing in parts and connecting the organization's talents to this, and people are doing it with a commercial purpose. And that's what is actually creating. And when I was doing this, it's tough taking out the time and having the continuity of the leadership, but then it has to be sustained effort.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you. Thanks.
The skilling aspect is really, really important. I just got a message from one of my friends saying, Shravan, can you get me, since you know so many people, he thinks I know a lot of people, I don't. Can you find some people who can help me with, in this Oracle company? He works for Oracle, and he has like several positions and he's unable to fill. And he says all of these people put all these kind of things on the resume, but they don't have the knowledge. They just, somehow are getting things done. So he's like, Shravan, I'm really, really tired. I seem to be doing all the work. They're not doing the work. Do you think you can find people for me? And so since he's not finding people, he decided he's not going to hire them at all. So he decided for the last 6 months, even though he had these openings, he said, I would rather not fill it up than have these people come in and I do the work for them. And the skilling process, I think what is happening is, the students go to the classes where they're not learning much. It is a very inefficient system that is there. And then in the evening, they seem to be taking offline classes or something. Again, that also is just spending money, but they're not doing something called project-based learning. And you cannot create a learn as you go system or a project-based learning in 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. It takes that creating a new mindset takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years. and no one is willing to spend that 3 to 5 years with the young people, saying, you know what, it's okay, make all these mistakes. I know you're taking a micro step today. That's okay. And you keep on encouraging them to make these small steps. And over 1 year, over 2 years, over 3 years, things will happen. And that's what we have done in this group, is we have really taken those small steps. When they make a really small progress, we'll say, great, congratulations. And we keep on doing that. Now they are doing all of the Thope Talks, which you're seeing. They organized the first one. When they were organizing, I couldn't even sleep here. I was thinking, how are they going to do it there? Principal was saying there is no way these young people can do it. And so I barely slept. Now I don't even think about it. They are doing it everything themselves, and I happily sleep now. So I think that, like you said, you, me, and many others have to come together, these disjointed things that are happening everywhere. And we look at it and say, okay, I think definitely maybe skilling is one area where we can all talk, Pratyusha. Once we can get skilling done, I'm 100% sure I can get them many jobs. But the skill, we cannot just take someone from a degree and get them a job, because they really don't know what they're, the degree doesn't mean much at all.
Absolutely.
No, that's true. That's what Padmanabhan sir said, right? Transgenders also, or even anybody who have a basic graduation, the life skills and the real skills are missing for them to get into it. That efficiency, I see, right? So again, we got a list of about 563 people who were COVID impacted people. Okay, I'm just giving you a number. So my boss said, look at it and see if you can hire somebody. So instead, there's so many people who are COVID impacted, COVID widows, COVID orphan, who are educated. But who has this data? And I spoke to Divya Devarajan, who was she heads the Telangana Women and Child Committee. So she was telling me, so if we partnered with her, she said, I have so many people unemployed who have lost their father, their husband, and they are impacted. Can you all do something for them? But when we started going to our own system of manufacturing, retail, it's just not IT, right? It's so many places, housekeeping, you can give them many opportunities. There's a huge gap again. From the education to their skilling to their know-how to what that housekeeping wants. Plus, at the same time, people don't want low-end jobs. There's a huge dignity of labor. So, again, it is a whole thing which people don't want to do, stuck in their mindsets. And so I hired one girl, and I just wanted to share this, of course, being COVID 2 years. She's been going through a lot of pain. The first wave, she got impacted. The second wave, she lost her husband. She had to be there 3 days on a divider to be able to just protect her husband, who was helping her father to survive. She's got twins who are 2 sons, 10-year-old, extremely brilliant and intelligent. But her productivity, she's not able to deliver because she's gone through so much of mental agony. So I've told my team, I said, give us some time, spend a quarter. See, one is who has the patience. Another thing is we are asked to deliver everything as on yesterday, right? That's a pressure and challenge you have from clients, customers, our bosses, everything. But at the same time, I said, no, I hired about 10 people. And of course, there's some people who are struggling to mentally come out of a situation. So that's what is empathy, right? Where I'm trying to balance it out between my challenges as well as with her. So my team members are also very empathetic. So I told her, just hear her out. Spend time with her. She needs somebody to express, forget, forgive. How to handle the 2 children. Because the two children who are 10-year-old, one son is not talking about her father at all. One son only talks about the father. So the same incident, both the children have reacted so differently. She's getting them counseling done. She's getting them psychological help. She's trying to become a bread earner of the family. But there's so much of pain one needs to go through, right? That's what I say, ground level reality and understanding people is so important to help them, right? So I just thought I'll share, yeah, there are many stories, but couple of them on how people are going through what they're going through. Huge opportunity on that mental well-being, skilling, and matching the talent marketplace. Give them a lending hand and support to make it better.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the brief stories. Not many people tell and not many people listen to. We are fortunate to have. And I take this pride to tell you that one of our top people like Tarun Gangadhar, you can see on the screen, he's writing a book on our top girls in order to make aware people what exactly girls are and to show the women empowerment, or what we say the word, to show the greatness or credibility of women. So we are glad to have him, and we all support to that. Yes, and thank you for the talk.
Very, very supportive, Tarun. Good luck. And
Thank you, ma'am.
absolutely would love any time you can give me a call. I'm always passionate about giving.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So any final thoughts from anyone? Yeah. So as a token of gratitude, as you see, we are built on these two values, three values: gratitude, learning, and compassionate. So I would like you to see our gratitude card for making this of your time and attending this talk and sharing your knowledge. So as a token of that, I'll share gratitude card. Give me. So thank you, Pratyusha Sharma, ma'am. We are glad to have you as today's speaker. Thank you for taking time, energy, heart, and giving this amazing talk. And we have a team, Top Gratitude team, always connects all our top people with their gratitude mindset. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was so cute and kind of you, right? Those kind words make you happy.